Thank you fellas for coming along today, and I would like to have had Brother Steve Ellison with us, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. And I just want to share with you a few experiences that I've experienced. I did say that I wanted to give my testimony. There's been so many testimonies put on YouTube, and so many people in the message, ministers, preachers, brothers, individuals that have given their testimony about Brother Branham and how they come into the message and what have you. And I said I would give my testimony one day, and this might just be part of it. I was born in South Africa, raised in South Africa, and ministered in South Africa for 3.5 years in a full-time ministry at Emmanuel Gospel Centre. And there were many great experiences that I had during that time. We painted the side of a mine dump or a hillside, Awake Jesus Cometh, not knowing that Brother Branham was preaching the seals in Jeffersonville. And when we come to the knowledge of the truth, we repainted the sign, Awake Jesus Has Come. And that caused a stir in South Africa, and doctrines that went along with it weren't received by the church that I was pastoring, and they excommunicated me, and I came to Australia and landed in Perth in 1979. And not to dwell too long on this, I do believe that the Lord was leading me and guiding me all the way through. And as I say, I was born in South Africa. At an early age, I had rheumatic fever. It left me with cardiomyopathy. That's a heart problem. And it's been with me all through life. And in Perth, I experienced heart failure. I had a pacemaker put in, and then a second pacemaker put in. I got prostate cancer. I got arterial fibrillation, and I've just had this terrific accident which has crippled me as far as the ministry is concerned at this time. Now I want to say this, that Brother Branham said that I want to emphasize this. Satan doesn't like this to be spoken of, and obviously we found an interruption just when I was going to say this. So you get to pick up these little things as you go along. Brother Branham said, and I hope we're not interrupted again, the devil will kill you if he can, but the message has to get out. Now, that was a tremendous statement. Many people treat it lightly, but I've really taken it to heart. Mm-hmm. I believe what has been preached in Perth, Western Australia, is not everybody's cup of tea. It's not everybody's doctrine. And true bride doctrine is hated by the churches. Churches just turn the deaf ear to all the quotes and all the statements of Brother Branham. They say that Ashley only uses them to suit his doctrine and so forth, and there's so many carnal comments made about this that it's not worth talking about. But I think everybody that follows this message knows exactly what the story is. Everyone will give an account of ourselves unto God, and I do believe that the Lord has come. And I do believe we have proclaimed this in Perth, Western Australia, alongside me as being Brother Ellison, Brother Steve Coakley, and Brother Paul. We've been preaching now for around about 15 years and gone through almost every quote pertaining to the coming of the Lord. And we know that he brings judgment at his second coming. Now, let me start with this. I made a statement that I believed that Satan was against me in preaching where I was preaching and coming up to these 3 messages that I have. He tried to hinder me in getting them out, but we will try and get them out, and to everybody that they might have a look at it. Now this is worldwide. I'm not really concerned about the opposition and what the denominations say. I'm not concerned about what the pastors believe. I'm speaking to those who believe the faith that was once delivered unto the saints, which was delivered by the seventh angel, the prophet of Malachi 4. Now, with my afflictions, I've had heart failure, arterial fibrillation, I've had 2 pacemakers, and I've got prostate cancer. And when I was riding my motorbike, I believe it was the hand of the Lord that prevented me from crossing from this land to the other. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll be preaching anymore, but I believe what I've given, I've given. I was on my way to get a picture of the grip, trapeze artist gripping, and as you can see, all my grips have been shattered. My hand's gone, my arm's gone, and I landed in hospital, waking up with the nurse saying, this fella functions in a higher realm, I can see that. And that struck me. I didn't know what she was talking about. And I made a lot of comments along the line of trapeze artists and what have you. And at this stage, on our television, there was a ninja warrior set up, and it's all about the grip. And many people couldn't get the grip right, and they fell. And to complete the course, if you know anything about this, it was all to do with the grip, how they gripped their way through the different obstacles and what have you. And if they lost their grip, they fell to the ground or fell into the water. And that's about the way it is. Many people can't grip this message. They can't grip and understand the quotes. They can't put it together. When Brother Branham said the 7th angels on earth at the time of his coming, they fall apart. They don't know what to do with it. But I believe we in Perth, Western Australia, have really gripped that quote, and we've held on to it. And we've went further into the thing, and we found out that the rapture has already taken place, and that the coming of the Lord is now history. The promise is fulfilled. The Lord has come, and I believe the bride is now being raptured. And of course the carnal mind will say, well, how can you be here and still be gone? Well, we've been through that, and if you want to go and look at the messages, you can pick that up and come to the understanding that John was a type of the bride. He was on Patmos and was caught up into heaven. And that's exactly the same with the true bride of Christ. She will be caught up without death, but it doesn't say she won't die. If you put death out the picture, you destroy the scripture. It is appointed unto man once to die, and after that, the judgment. This accident, Brother Steve and Brother Coakley and Brother Paul come around to the house to visit me just before I landed in hospital again. And I said, I believe the devil was out to kill me. Now, I have a picture that I will show to Brother Steve and Brother Paul. And this picture shows exactly what took place, and the accident, who ran into me. I was T-boned. A young 18-year-old girl shot the stop street, and I went right into her, flung up into the air, come down on her bonnet, smashed into her windscreen, and did a couple of somersaults in the air and landed on the road. And I said to Brother Steve, that was a tremendous experience. When I lay on that road there, I almost touched that other side. It was a real supernatural experience as far as I was concerned. And the road that the accident took place was Church Street, and I was hit by a woman. And if you see the picture that I'm going to share with Brother Steve, you will find out a little bit more about it.
Brother Steve Coakley here. I'd like to just add a few words here about the accident that Brother Ashley had, and just go into a few things. I've added an image of the scene of Brother Ashley's accident. He was travelling home from office works after getting a large image print of a trapeze artist's grip, which he wanted to use to illustrate something in the fellowship the next day. The map shows the intersection of Church Street, which I find is aptly named, and the main road called Wanneroo Road. You can see the icons of Brother Ashley's scooter and the collision vehicle relative to one another, and as a matter of fact I've put a sort of slightly enlarged image of the poster that Brother Ashley had carrying on his scooter. As you can see from the map, Brother Ashley had right of way, and the collision vehicle actually didn't stop at that white line. That's why I've got it across the white line there. It crossed straight into Brother Ashley's path. He had no time to react, hit the vehicle and went over the bonnet and landed on the other side. I've inserted into the map there, parallel with the road, a snapshot of the actual incident just after it occurred, and this was taken by a passerby and posted on social media. In the snapshot there you'll see the silver vehicle that the young lady was driving, and she's sitting up against the vehicle with an ambulance officer, a paramedic attending to her, and she had no physical injuries, I might add, but I believe she was in a state of shock there. Also, the other group of people there is Brother Ashley laying prostrate on the ground. I've got a little arrow towards him there. He was going in and out of consciousness, and the ambulance paramedics were looking after him as well, trying to stabilize him before putting him in the ambulance and taking him up to the hospital. I don't think there's much more I can say about that image, and I think you can see there how it relates to the map just above it, and I hope that helps. Now I'd like to go to onto the pictures of Brother Ashley's injuries that were taken in the hospital after he was bandaged up and patched up and cleaned up. As you can see, they were pretty serious injuries. His shoulder took a great effort to get back in. The medical staff struggled, and it took quite an effort. I believe it was 3 goes to get it in. Unfortunately, in the process, a main tendon did snap, and also his wrist was quite bad. He's got a smashed bone. One of his thumb bones in his wrist, the large thumb bone, had been shattered as well. Brother Ashley's decided not to go ahead with any surgery to repair those injuries, because the surgeons advised that it would be quite risky with his heart condition. So they've opted on his say-so to rehabilitate him through physiotherapy, and obviously he'll have a cast on his wrist. The driver of the collision vehicle I'd like to mention. I haven't really got an image of that person, of course, but I just want to illustrate something about them as best I can. You can see there that I've got a darkened image, but it shows a can of alcohol, a pack of drugs hanging out of her mouth, and a demonic worship sign. Not her hand, it's someone else's hand leaning over her shoulder. This image I saw on social media, but of course, as I say, I can't fully display it. It does show the lifestyle of the young woman. I'm sure she's traumatized by this event, but it seems that she may have opened herself up to be caught up in this little demonic trap. And I just hope and pray that she's learned something from this traumatic incident. It reminds me, this whole incident, a quote that Paul the Apostle made in 1 Thessalonians 2, where he said, but we, brethren, taken from you for a short time in presence, not in heart, endeavoured the more abundantly to see your face with great desire. Wherefore we would have come unto you, even I, Paul, once and again, but Satan hindered us. For what is our hope or joy or crown of rejoicing? Are not even ye in the presence of our Lord Jesus Christ at his coming? For ye are our glory and joy. Well, there you can see Paul's mentioning to his flock that he was hindered by Satan, and I believe this is somewhere along those lines where Satan carried out his threat that Brother Ashley mentioned in his little talk. Quite something there to ponder about. I'd like to now go back to Brother Ashley, let him finish off.
So, things happen in lives, and I had 3 more messages that I was going to preach, and the second one had to do with parables. And I was going to ask Brother Coakley to read the scriptures. The book's already printed, the notes have already been printed, and the scripture reading was concerning parables. And it was about the Lord Jesus speaking in parables, and he would not speak anything unless he spoke in parables. And he spoke in parables to his disciples, he spoke in parables to his apostles, Peter, James and John. He called them aside and said, look, I want to tell you something. And he shared the secrets with them and not with others. And he said, to you it is given to know in the kingdom of heaven. And so we got the parable now that we are looking at, how that the powers of darkness, Satan will kill you if you preach in this message, if he could. But when God says it's time, that's the time. He cannot take your life until God says he can do it. And so we've gone through the grip and all the things that are associated with. We could talk a long time on that. We can talk about Church Street and the picture that I'm going to show Brother Steve, and function in the air. The bride functions in the air, and that's obviously foreign to a lot of message people. They don't understand that. They haven't got a clue what you're talking about, but we do function from another realm. And phenomenally, Brother Bram said everything in the natural types is spiritual. And we have had a show in Perth on television of men pushing themselves to the extreme to try and get up Mount Komarama or whatever they call it, pulling themselves up, and it all has to do with the grip. And if you want to get to the other side, you need the word to take the rapture. You've got to get that grip right on all the quotes, all the sayings, all the prophecies, and all the scriptures. And so I think you can recall in the last couple of messages, I did make a statement behind the pulpit that I feel burnt out. I just feel that I'd come to the end of the road. There was hardly anything more you could do. People have turned down what has been preached. There's no amens, there's no cooperation, there's no nothing. I've been pushed aside from the mainstream churches. They want nothing to do with me. I'm a total nut as far as they're concerned, and a disgrace to the message. But anyway, Paul said, after the way they call heresy, so worship I the God of my fathers. And if you want to be in a ministry, you have to go through these things. Paul said, I was bitten by a viper, and I was shipwrecked, and I was bashed this way and bashed that way. And if you're in the front lines, you're going to cop it. You're going to cop it. Satan's out to get you. So right now, I'm in hospital under these conditions. Can hardly walk, have to shuffle, but I'm still alive, and until I take my final breath, I will proclaim what we believe. I believe God led me to Australia. I was totally rejected in South Africa, cast out of the church. I come to Australia. I said I would never preach again because of the rejection that took place and the hatred and the bitterness that had transpired. One friend of mine, we were close, and he became a pastor, and he said, "You tell Ashley those messages that he sent out, I throw them in the bin. I don't want to read them. It's just false doctrine, false teaching." Well, that's okay. That's okay, but that was made by a South African, and South African turned down the message, and you can hear Brother Branham's comments if you study some of his messages. You'll find out that Brother Branham was forbidden to preach in South Africa. They stamped on his passport he cannot preach there. And right at this time, the whole country is in chaos. It's falling apart. The police can't control the mobs of violence. It's mob violence. It's absolutely gone to pieces. And if you go onto YouTube and you start looking at the situation, you'll find out that judgment is surely striking South Africa. And I believe blood will flow in the gutters. I believe it's a slaughterhouse. And I believe the wrath of God will be upon that nation for rejecting the prophet and refusing to let him preach when he was over in 1965. Okay, so I woke up in hospital, and I come out of a darkness, as it were, and I heard a voice saying, "Woe, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth, for the devil has come down with great power, for he knows that his time is short." Now, you can make any comment you want on that, but I believe it's compound scripture, compound meaning, and I believe the earth now is going to be shaken by the power of God. I do believe that. It was a real tremendous thing. There is a fellow in Australia who's putting out the reports on South Africa. If you want to Google it or you want to find it on YouTube, it's Loving Life. His name is Scott, and I was looking at his one of his videos on reporting on the chaos in South Africa, and amazingly I saw a lion, and above the lion's head there was a cross, and that was very striking to me, because Brother Branham said in 1965 he went to South Africa, and it was the greatest hunting trip he ever had, and he never shot a thing, but I think he wasn't hunting the flesh, he was hunting the spirit, he was hunting the bride of Christ. I do believe that with all my heart. So it's worthy to have a look at Loving Life and all the comments that are coming out of this man in Western Australia, the reports that he made. The videos are short but very informative of the judgments that are now striking. So I will be now showing Brother Coakley the pictures, and if he feels led, he will take it further. I rely on him, as he has been by my side, putting a lot of printed material and videos together pertaining to the message and pertaining to what we believe in Perth, Western Australia. And I do believe it will be beneficial if you would have a look at it. Let me close in saying this. That I've had a few friends in the United States of America. Brother Beda was spoken of by Brother Branham. He says, "Is this the time?" And when all men turned against him, I stood by him, and I believe that there was a great meaning to what Brother Branham said. He sent him out. He was his sidekick, and he came to South Africa after Brother Branham had visited and let go on what he believed, exactly what we believe. And he had a lot of input in my ministry. He took me down to the river where Brother Branham was baptizing in 1933, where the angel appeared and said, as John the Baptist forerun the first coming, so you'll forerun the second coming. It clicked with me. I went back to South Africa. I began to preach it and then was rejected. I want to say to the friends out there, the time is finished. It's over. It's done. The church ages are over. There's no more blood on the mercy seat. It is now a judgment seat. The bride has been raptured and taken up to glory. And these things are very controversial. These things are very spiritual. And you can't speak them to everybody. They really get upset, the denominations, when you say this. The revival is over, son. There'll be no more revival. So there's only doom and gloom left for the Gentiles. That's all I can say. The message has been given. The message has gone out. It has been rejected. And Brother Branham said the next thing is judgment. There's nothing left but judgment. And so I met Brother Beda and I also met Brother Rod. And Brother Rod, when we went to see him in the United States of America, he said, Brother Ashley, the day will come when people will knock on your door and want to talk to you about the message. And he said, you'll have to hide yourself away. There'll be so many people wanting to come. And I stood in the lounge just before I landed in hospital, and there were about 3 people that come and knocked on the door. And people are knocking on the door all the time, wanting to talk to me. And they don't know where I am. I'm in hospital, sitting with Brother Paul and with Brother Steve Coakley, making this video. And I just find it so phenomenal that I find myself in this place. I mean, we've spoken outside the wall many times on people knocking on your door wanting to come and see you. And you have to run and hide. And that's about the way it is. I believe as the time rolls on, people are going to find out that which was preached in Perth, Western Australia, was thus saith the Lord. It was the quotes, it was the prophet's message. It was not man-made. I believe it was God. And he said, there'll be a showdown and God will show who's who. So we're in for it, brothers. We're in for it, sisters. Let's just stand faithful to the word. Keep that grip, hold tight as hard as you can, and catch every quote that you can. And I believe at the end of the day, we'll all meet in glory. Thank you.